Awesome, we're live. So first of all, thank you everyone for coming and welcome to another Silverdale Business webinar. This is what's technically the fourth one that we've done over the last 3 months. So it's great to get these going continuously and providing some sort of benefit to the local business community. Today, we've got Jerome Jacobs from Rise Advisory, and I will allow him to show up on the stage here. But before he gets into things, just a little bit of housekeeping. So down the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see that we've got the chat option. So you can chat amongst yourselves or post into that. As we go through this as well, there is a couple of downloads related to the presentation and what Jerome's going to be talking about, and he'll walk you through one of them in particular. So it's worth checking that out and downloading the spreadsheet as we go. You may want to fill it out as we go through the presentation, or you may want to just take notes and do it later. It just depends on what's easiest for you. There's also a Q&A section. So the Q&A, you can pop any questions into that and we will get to them towards the end. But if you've got any that you put in the chat, that's fine. I'll see those as well. But when we get to the end, we'll answer any questions. And other than that, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. Jerome's going to share his screen, go through everything, and kind of help you grow your business successfully. So without any more further ado, well, actually, I probably should say thank you to Silverdale Business as a whole for helping us put this on, as well as Business Whangaproa and Destination Oreo Beach, who we work with in order to get this out there and get as many people involved as possible. So I'm going to hand it over to Jerome now, and he can get started and dazzle you.
Oh, thanks. Hey, thanks, Matt. Really appreciate the opportunity to be spending this time with a handful of folks that it's a real privilege to to share many years of knowledge and experience that I've gained with working with, I think now over 350 business owners around Auckland, New Zealand too, and a few overseas. So since 2003, I've been in the coaching and advisory space, and so it's taken time to really get to understand the personal goals that business owners really want to achieve, and then make sure that their business as a vehicle really supports that in a way that is meaningful and provides return and value to shareholders. And so I'll be taking you through a process today that I've tweaked with different businesses, and I'll share some key stories with some customers that have recently had some great success, but also have given me the opportunity to share because I'm quite mindful about what's deemed as personal. What I will do is I will start off by screen sharing, and feel free to ask questions, because we smaller numbers we can have a bit more of an engaging process, hopefully. So here we go. Great. Right, I'm sure everybody can see. So a key driver that I have when working or engaging with different businesses, professional type or trade type businesses. I've worked with, even my very first client in 2003 was in the equine industry, weaning and training horses out in Glenbrook. A lovely lady called Chesky Brown. And one of the things that I'm very precious about is about business owners' time, and how do we go about buying back that time. I've come to understand that most folks in business really want to probably enjoy growth, but normally what we need to do is find ways so that they can have the time to actually, in fact, grow their business. So I wanted to start off by the why. Here's my family. That's my older boy over there. He's slightly taller than me now. His name is Joshua. He's at Unitech doing civil engineering his first year. And it's my lovely wife, Linda. She does corporate chair massage, so she's a massage therapist. And my younger boy is year 11 at Rosmini. So that's my why. We're a very close family. We spend a lot of time together. We're very homely, and of great joy and great fun. We're planning a holiday together as a family later in the year, probably to Rarotonga for my 50th. So yay, we can go and spend some time together now that we can travel to one or two places. So what I wanted to start off with is that everybody normally has a plan. And when I work with business owners, there's one thing that allows them to grow. And there's one statement that sometimes prevent them from growing. And that statement is the I know statement. And so I'm always cautious into the listening about I know. It can be quite devastating, or it can quite stop growth. So I'm always cautious about listening to that I know. But more importantly, who are we today? And who will be tomorrow? I'm very excited to always work through as a coach, as my plan is to push through for the tomorrow and what will tomorrow look like. And when I start off, there's normally a few places that people are in their business. The other one is fast track their startup. They want to get controls or stability in their business. It seems to be quite a strong area that I do work with, putting controls in place, helping business owners to achieve that. To putting control in place and stability, and then also growth. Growth can be organic, or it can be by acquisition. At this point, at the moment, I'm working with one client and the accountant to look at buying a business that can be a connected business. So, organic is one way, but also acquisition is another way. And ultimately, I enjoy the fact that we can have businesses that has an exit or a succession plan. But those are the four key areas whenever I work with folks. Where are they right now, and where do they want to be? And so that's definitely something for me to always to understand straight away. The key objective when working with business owners is to identify weaknesses and strength. I do that through a significant bunch of ways to understand weaknesses, not only in people around their capability or strengths around their processes, to look at where the low-hanging fruit elements in order to buy back business owners' time so we can grow their business successfully. And this is a current client that I'm working with. When partnering with Sean Gibbons with his business and going through the framework that we'll be looking through, it completely restructured his business. And put solid controls in place, and so that we could actually bring management in and through a real strength of budgeting and function, because he understands his profitability and the whole thing is to protect shareholder value or grow its equity and manage the cash that normally takes growth. And so he's a straight shooter, and he's someone. I wanted to say something about this business. Last year, this business was called Frontline Earth Moving and Drainage. So I wanted to say that because one of the things about that is that the potential vision of the company is growth. So we'll be moving, and we're looking at the next division, which will be plumbing and gas. So there's earth moving and drainage and plumbing and gas, and we will move into construction and then environmental. So we have got a long-term plan for this business. But number one we needed to do was just have an understanding where all the moving parts within the organization. And we did really well by doing that last year and moving into this year with a very solid plan. So in the brochure that Matt will be sending out later on, there's a story about him, and he's one of only a few clients that will be in there. Today we'll be working through what I call the key objectives framework. Every organization or business owner has key objectives. Key objectives within a quarter, key objectives within a year. They've got key objectives over 5 years. And so, and out of key objectives, we'll figure out what the results is and how well we're implementing those key objectives. And so feel free, if Matt's sending you through that right now, to look at that. But my suggestion at the moment is to follow through. And then what we'll do is we can have questions throughout the way. So here we go. Hope everybody can see this. I love working with people that's got a plan, a vision, and they are committed. There's something about commitment. And when I show up, I really show up. I mean, I show up 100% in all the relationships that I have. And I like it that people have plans. I've never come across a really bad plan, but where businesses fall short, of course, is in its implementation and the ability to measure well, and then not just go back to a new plan, but then to correct what has been measured and back into implementation. So for me, there's a process that I'm able to work through, and the implementation is always around having the right who. Whenever I work with people, I'm always looking for who's the right who to implement, whether it's the office manager or whether it's other key team members. I'm always looking for the right who, people that can implement and support the business owner. If you look at the left-hand side, you'll see there's this thing called departments. Generally, in most businesses, we know them as hats. We get the shareholder hat, we got the director hat. Now, the managing director is in most small business or medium-sized businesses, it's a very sensitive one, because for me, that's probably the one that I look to most and speak most to, because as a director, as you know, we have an obligation to run a business successfully. There's the business development. Business development happens in every business, whether it's a small business or big business. That happens through its people and its systems. And then it's the marketing hat or the marketing department, which flows beautifully into the sales. And then we have operational, health and safety, finance, HR, there's admin, IT, customer service, and ultimately there's a support crew over there with advisors, legals. These are people that successfully need to fit into that business to help the business owner or the managing director take the business safely from A to B. I also want to clarify at the end of the day that there are probably some other hats that you're wearing, but for me, in every organization, these are the most common ones, and these are the ones that I love to get a sense of clarity with regarding a future plan from that space. I'll highlight the next phase of this. So each department or each hat has a function. It's very important to know that the shareholders, if we're buying shares in an organization, we're buying shares in any business, it's important to know that there's a return on investment. And it's as clear as that. That's the function of shareholding, is to get a return. As a director, is to actually drive a plan that's going to give a return on investment for the shareholders. And so that individual has a vision. They have the people that's driving that vision, and they're implementing a strategy and it's turning it into cash. And so there's a little framework within that space there in itself. So the function of a director is to grow the business or to create stability to grow the business. And so that person is the one that owns the plan. Business development is all around innovation. We're either innovating, we're dying, either through people or systems. Innovation and business development can happen in marketing, sales, operation. It's like the thread that flows through every business. And so I come in with a real clear understanding about what's happening in a business around its innovation, whether it's automating or whether it's finding new products or services, which we'll talk about from that point of view. Marketing is generating leads, quality A-class leads. That's its only function. Return on there to find out, is to generate good quality leads. And so, who's leading that hat? Sales is around converting that quote, converting that sales. It's all around conversion and being able to measure that. And then what we have is operational. Operations is all about generating that cash. It's really specifically about generating that cash, really getting that work in progress to turn that progress claim into an invoice. Anything that's preventing the business to generate the cash will be stuck in a delivery challenge or a manufacturing challenge within operation. So, who's owning that hat? And then finance is all about managing the profits and managing cash flow. Of course, there's a few more things with finance, but those are just some of the key functions of it, is managing profits and managing how well is this business creating profits through the other functions before it. HR is around people, culture, growth, and retention. I think in small business is the one that's the most underrated, or the area that's probably less. It's becoming more vital and more clear about how we maintain or hold on to those key people. But HR, there's the rhythm to it. It's something that I'm quite precious on, and getting really clear on the seats on the bus, which is brilliant. And then admin is a big supporting function. There's admin in every hat, every department, every function. There's admin. In sales, there's admin. In marketing, there's admin. There's a routine and a rhythm. There's the mundane function within it that needs to be done. And so it's good to get really clear about who does that. IT is quite big in organizations, especially around safety. We've been hearing a lot about that. And ultimately, we should be able to get some really clear response from clients around customer service, how well are we operating as an organization. And then either coaches, advice around legal, HR, health and safety, people that consult to bring certain tools and elements to the business. Once again, there's a bunch of people around accounting. It's really precious to have accountant. You're not a number. They understand your business. They understand all the moving parts in your business. It's really, for me, I'm big on looking at those relationships and how well they are supporting the business to go from A to B. So that just gives you a little bit of an understanding about the hats and then also the key functions, and so that your team knows what's that key function and how we to act in it as part of their roles, the individual roles. But this is where the tie hits the road. The tie hits the road when it comes down to, let's talk about, who's leading that department, who's leading that hat. Are they internal or are they external? Are they employees or are they contractors? Are they bookkeepers, accountants? Who's ultimately leading that role? Whose name is who's got their hand up at that time that takes ownership? I've worked with many family businesses, and everybody just looks at everybody kind of strangely and just think, who's doing what. And so, it's really good to get really clear on those different roles. For example, obviously shareholders, they could be individuals or they could be a trust. There's a key name over there. There's someone there that needs to sit down, whether it's quarterly or whenever, and sit down and find out how this business is tracking in a sense of return on investment. So there has to be a name. There is always a name when it comes to an organization. As directors, who's leading that department? Are there multiple directors? Or do you have an independent director? Who is that person, and how are they functioning within the business? And how clear are they? And are they doing what they say they're doing? Do they have, here's the thing I find fascinating. I've got a very well drafted job description for a director, and it clarifies leadership, and it clarifies a lot of the departments, but it has a KPI to it. Is that person doing what they say they're doing, and are they able to grow and add value to an organization? So that would be the first thing. Hey, your business director, give me your job description. What is it? 9 out of 10 times, the answer is no, I don't have one because I'm too busy doing everything else, and I can understand that. Business development, these are people that have capability to be involved in its systems and its new products and its new opportunities. Who's all involved with that? Again, it's mostly small businesses. You'll find the business owner, he'll be leading it. There might be the wife or the partner involved in that. And there might be, hey, there's Jack, there's someone outside that's giving some input into the business, and they might be a supporting external person. But it's clear to get on the names. It's vitally important to get clear on names. It means something. There's accountability when there's a name, and there's a responsibility and a task that comes with it. Marketing, who's involved, who's leading that, and who's supporting that. Sometimes it might be a digital agency. Sometimes, like Matt would be involved in that. Matt and I, we work with a common client, which is in the brochure, and that's how I come to know Matt through the Silverdale Business Association. And I was able to ask the client, hey, who's been doing a great job? And it was really good to know that Matt's just doing an awesome job to support that client in its digital space. Sales, right? Who's involved? Who's leading that? And who's supporting that? It might mean that's an organization. It might have a nationwide sales team. It might just be a one-man band. Once again, who's leading? Whose name is on that? Who's going to be responding to the key objectives, and who's going to be doing the rhythm elements, which we'll go through. Operations can be different for so many different businesses. I work with quite a large number of construction/sub trades. I've put in over there as an operations manager because I believe that every organization has one, no matter how small or large. Some clients might have a project manager or site manager, a scheduler, a production team, contractors. So that could be a range of different organizations. It's really good. I think in every business, there's always two running. There's always two organizational structures, the current one and a future. And it's understanding the business strategy that will allow that. What I find in most organizations is that people tend to give roles out, but they never get clear on qualifications. But my role at the end of the day is always to distinguish in organizations what's the owner doing over there, and has him or her got many different hats within that function. Recently, I freed up a lot of business owners by having a scheduler in place that could just free up the moving parts, because most organizations have maintenance to them. And it's just getting clear at the end of the day to buy back the time of business owners, and then also to put the standards in place with contractors and so forth. Of course, health and safety and compliance is a big thing in today's world. So it's really good there. Finance, who's leading that? There's normally an accountant or a bookkeeper. I'm always wanting to know these different levels of engagement over there with accountants. Senior accountant, you might find that they might have an intermediate. I'm working currently with an accounting firm. I've just finished another stint with a reasonable size accounting firm. And it's really good to get clear on their level of support on what they do and what's the capabilities over there. And in HR, who's doing that, and who's working through all the changes that's coming through at the moment, who's leading that and who's supporting that. So the roles is really where the tie hits the road. And I believe that we get really clear on all those tasks and responsibilities. We can then have freedom to find the people depending on the profitability of an organization. Admin is all around efficiencies. I find that really does help with a lot of the systemizing of business. Whether the organization is going to need pricing to be checked up again or something, the moving parts, the asset management of vehicles and all of those kind of things, or asset management of equipment. I find the admin is quite helpful to function in those areas. So I get clear with all the moving parts with different businesses. And then again, who's the folks that's going to support? Are they adding genuine value to the business? Do they really believe, and can they add value, like real value? If not, don't belong. So that's what advisors, legals, coaches, accountants, you name them. Whoever you think they are, it's good to start scoring and to seeing where the value is. So here's some examples of some key objectives in a business. Of course, for you, it might be very different. As I'm speaking through this, you'll be thinking about it for yourself. Here we go. So in shareholders, it might mean that they want to reduce some liabilities, or they need to reinvest in some capital, capex. So some new plant and something. So there's some key objectives that from a shareholder that needs to be thought through. Is that something that's in someone's view right now or not? Or does it just happen naturally? Director, is there something that is the plan working, or if it's not working, then what we need to review, because it is about the return for shareholding, return on shareholding. Business development, is there any new products or services? Is there any products that is no longer relevant? Is there any services that we can add to it? Is there a part of the business that we should sell because it's not adding any value, it's just stealing time? Is there a part of the business, is there another part that we should be buying? As business development, there's some cool things to think about. There's a product called in the construction, and there's a product called Builder Price. There's so many builders that I've taken off Fergus, and I've taken them off Workflow Max, and I'm thinking to myself, who's advised these people, from a software perspective? And it's been really good going through organizations. There's another product called Simpro. I've got 3 organizations that is utilizing Simpro because they want to drive through a nationwide growth function. And so it's what's appropriate for that business to work through it. So looking at its systems and its procedures. I was just critiquing an installer passport system for the lead site people for this one organization. And it's really good that we're starting to put these back-end systems, these training systems in place, and so that we can grow. So it's exciting what systems would help, and and what sort of budget that we need to put aside for that. Marketing, online, offline. We all have online to a degree, and we definitely have offline. Your alliances, your referral networks, those kind of things, any signage, those are all kind of offline. Online, your digital, your website, SEO, you name it. CRM, all those leads coming through, and can we measure them? Do we have a clear target market? How good is our brand? I mean, these are just some key objectives, because there's been several clients that we've rebranded their company. We've freshened up their brand because they're not going to attract anybody. They're not going to attract the right kind of clients. So we needed to tidy that up. It's looking a little bit tainted. So what is the marketing objectives for your business at this point in time? And are they meeting the market? Sales, do we have an effective sales process? What's our price? I'm working through a few plumbing organizations, and we're doing all their price booking. Do they have proper price booking? Do they have proper schedules, rate schedules? Do they have, do they have a proper CRM that they can actually review? Are they missing deposits? Is that what's important for them this quarter? Do they need to implement some SLAs? I mean, these are just some aspects around sales as a checklist when I go into an organization to see how well they are meeting the obligations. Operational, quality control. Do we have quality control procedures in place? Health and safety is the compliance, right? Task delegation, are we doing the right people do the right tasks? And what do we need to upskill? Are we utilizing gear utilization? Are we utilizing our gear, and do we understand the value of that? And training. Organizations, I get clear, different levels over here. There's role competencies. For that particular client that I was talking about, Frontline, we spent a significant amount of time they've got SOPs, standard operating procedures in their marketing, their sales, their operations and financials, and HR. It's clearly documented and timed, it's beautifully put together, and there's KPIs, and it's really clear so they know their business and they know what they need to be measuring and working through. And scheduling effectiveness. Once again, these are just a handful of key objectives that I'm bringing up. Of course, there are many others where there might be some gaps. It's just me highlighting some of these today. Finance, expense control, debt restructure, invoice weekly, stock takes, van, plant, tax planning, CapEx, your true cost on your jobs. And so once again, there's just a handful of things that I would be asking questions about and getting to understand to get the best result for a business owner and their future growth. HR, job descriptions. There are job descriptions, and then there are job descriptions. I like to have a purpose in one. Number two, I'm not in HR. I don't write the legal law, but I can get pretty clear on roles and hiring processes and selection processes, induction, house rules, career pathways, organizational structures, and cultural elements within in a business. So I spend a lot of time creating tools that creates ideal for fit. And so I'll take folks through that, because I'm really precious on the people that comes into an organization. These are just a handful. My toolbox is quite large, so it's just what's appropriate for the time for a season. An office manual, and that's quite important. An office manual for an admin person, and then out of there will be a whole bunch of task and protection in IT, in a sense, passwords and you name it. So it's about building those. And that I never go to a business owner and say, hey, listen, run a report. I always go to the admin person and say, can you run an accurate report? Because it just allows information to flow, just around discipline. And again, once again, your support crew, coaches, consultants, advice, legals, accountants, you name it, fit for purpose, need to be there. If they don't, in a business, just to clarify things, there's a rhythm to everything. And so it's important to understand what's the rhythm, Is shareholders monthly, quarterly? Is the dividend that you want to take it on a quarterly? How well is the business functioning? And so, there's rhythms. There's rhythms for manager director to review their plans, maybe talk with their key people, the heads of department, if that's the space where you're at. Business development, how do we look at it? Is it out of sight, out of mind? Is it on a whiteboard? What are the things that we want to do in this quarter? Does the team know about that? How well are they engaged? Marketing, what do you need to review daily? It's all about return on investment. So, there's acquisition cost and lifetime value. So how do we actually measure that? And, how do we review? If it's something digital, of course you can look at that daily, because that's just the value that it can provide. But there's other things. Like currently I'm working with a client. We're going to be doing a trade show. Yes, a trade show. Can you believe it? People are going to trade shows in New Zealand. And so, we'll be working through that as far as their core objective, and to achieve that. So we've got 6 weeks to get to the new, the ASB one, and it's putting all the things around it. So they're weekly having to look to that. And then after that, there's a back end from a sales process. Once again, sales process, how do we measure? Daily, weekly, 3 days a week? And what are we measuring? So that's just giving you a taste of how do we structure a rhythm within a business. If you're having a Christmas function, that's a yearly function, And what about reviews with team? Is it quarterly? Is it 6 monthly? August and maybe Feb? Is it structured 6 monthly so that you can get your new budgets in for March? So everything has a rhythm. So we need to schedule that in, and of course there'll always be something that will throw a spanner in the works. We've been told we should put a date and a time on things. So I believe that we've got a time frame things. There's a saying that goes in business. Wisdom comes through the ability to evaluate, meaning to review. So a big question I have for business owners and their teams: what are we reviewing? What's the health of that, and why is that important? What's the purpose of us having to review that? We need to be asking the right questions. So a simple framework that I'm working through with you over here, just start thinking about, to get real and put things in where appropriate for you and your time in your business. This could be in a quarter. We're in the second quarter at the moment. We're in quarter 2, right? So we're July, August, September. So I will have things in place now with clients. We'll have at least 5 objectives that we want to achieve. And out of there, we want to make it so that it is chewable, that it is, because some things are work in progress. There's always a budget and an outcome. Always a budget and actual. There's always a targeted number, and there's always a health number. There's always a leading number. It's always easy to talk to business owners about the leading numbers, because that's a number that we can pull out of thin air. I'm going to turn over $1 million this year. How are we going to achieve it? Okay, now we're getting into the real stuff. And so it's really great to get clear on what is that, what's the business. I think it's quite interesting after the financial year, hopefully before June, the financials get done so we can actually tax plan and move effectively with the business forward in planning. But here's the thing at the moment is I always ask, what's your business worth? What's the value of business? Has your equity gone up? And it's a big question, but it's a real question. It's not the question that often gets asked. It's just an assume that, hey, listen, there's money in the bank or the business made some profits and I've got to pay some tax. But actually, what's that business worth? It's something that we should be asking more often of ourselves or of our accountants, and actually come up with a formula that makes sense, that's going to serve, whether it's, whether you have partnerships or not. I would be measuring, I'll be reviewing leadership and the actions that is taken, the director's taken, and the results that they've produced through their core team. Business development, normally with some organizations, put an hours towards it and a name towards those, and there will be a budget towards those hours. Because yes, it will take 20 hours to put a training system in place. Absolutely, that's what it's going to take. Who's going to be involved and how are we going to go about it in this quarter? Marketing, a percentage of turnover perhaps. What are we going to do? How do we qualify, and are we growing our database? There's a saying that goes, your turnover is relative to the size of your database. You'll probably be thinking about that right now. So sales, what's margin control, your quote turnaround, your follow-up. Hey, we won this, we lost this. Why? I've even working with a builder that uses something called Pipedrive. I mean, that's quite cool. So we can see where all the projects is, the deals, however we want to communicate it, and see how we're progressing or taking it all the way to getting it signed off. It's really cool to have the right tools for the right season. Typical one for operations, hours worked and hours paid. Overtime, variation controls, work in progress. How well is that contract margin? Is it improved? A big one in a lot of organizations, very seldom when people put rework in their job management systems to actually calculate that wastage, calculate the efficiency. And with several organizations, we've put incentives, and we just had an amazing amount of productivity gains, of course, depending on the business and where it's at. That's, again, something I enjoy working with and looking how we can add value to everyone. Everybody wins, and everybody enjoys the spoils. And so, yeah, it's quite exciting putting incentives in organization. Finance, margin, P&Ls, I mean, the list is long. Sales budget. I spend a significant amount of time backcasting. Yesterday, I was sitting with a client at a product called Build a Price in Albany, and a client, and we were just looking at how information is getting put in there, so we can, with a building and construction company that has lots of moving parts in it, to make sure at the end of the day that we can that the jobs that we are operating out of is really profitable. So I understand industry standards and margins in different parts of their business. So yep, want to make sure at the moment that we're putting the right information in so we can backcast effectively. Doesn't matter what industry, it's really good to always backcast. And yep, and then there's payroll, receivables, budget and actuals. I mean, when it comes to finance, there's a lot of things to talk through and work through. HR, attitude, engagement, well-being, skills. There's lots of things that we can see that we've had improvements on from the team. It's really good to just get a sense about what that is. And then, again, having the admin person produce results all the way through. And I suggest that when it comes to having the right people on your team that's supporting you from external, a quality of experience and what they can help implement. This is a framework that is easy to get your mind around where our time goes, and so it really just allows business owners to, wow, here's an area I want to, let's get into the admin. How can I free up my time? I'm spending 20 hours a week over there. Right, let's get that documented. Let's get that structured. Let me buy back my time because I need to be spending more time in the business development. I need to be spending more time in the sales, or I need to be spending more time so I don't have to be working 24/7 at night. So it's understanding which area do I want to release first. And this helps, it becomes visual and it becomes clear. And I just amaze myself every single time, out of sight, out of mind. Once we get real, it shifts the game. Ownership comes into play, and then we can actually gain traction. I've been talking for quite a bit. Hopefully, I haven't spoken too fast, and hopefully, my explanation and speaking through things has been clear, and there's been a space that you're able to reflect on and go, wow, okay, there's some things I can work through or clarify or move forward with. So it's all about taking control, and so I would gladly just spend some time in a few minutes, and we can just talk through some and have some questions and answers, and then maybe I can add value in some other way, which will be really cool. Matt.
All right, thank you for that. I'm just popping into the chat another link. It's the link to Jerome's Calendly, and yep. So that's Jerome's calendar, so you can book a chat and catch up with him directly. And I will pop his email address in there as well, just in case you didn't catch it quick enough.
Cool. Thanks.
There you go.
So
you're able to get in touch with Jerome directly and go through the framework from your specific point of view and your specific business. There was a question, and I mean that was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions myself, but we'll start with one that's in the chat. So some companies don't really give attention or importance to a particular department, let's say marketing. What advice can you give to these companies so that they can look at the bigger picture?
So some companies don't, what are you saying? Some companies don't.
When you've got a company that's they're focusing on one or another aspect, ignoring another department completely. What would be your advice so that they can see everything from a greater perspective, or that big picture, and go, oh, okay, yes, my marketing or my HR is actually important to the company?
Yeah, great. Thanks for the question. What I when I work with organizations, I love bringing up a big tool. Give an example for marketing. I've got this thing called a marketing timeline, and I wanna get a handle and understanding first of all, because everybody has an enjoyment factor, something that they enjoy. And so there will be an area that they would want to drive because they have more enjoyment, or maybe that's what the business needs. But I normally get clear and understand what's been the experience around the company around marketing, because normally what tends to happen is they've had a couple of bad experiences, and so it gets pushed to the side. And it's just purely because there hasn't been the support or someone that is able to have assisted with that particular area. For marketing specifically, at the end of the day, is it's good to know that there are people out there that can help in that department. But once again, I don't know where the company's growth is. Is it that marketing is important? If marketing is important and it's been put to the side, it's just taking some stock and saying what's working and what's not working, and what can we do to improve, whether it's digital or whether it's another area. Sometimes someone moves away from something that has been working, but they just stop doing it for whatever reason. And I think to myself, why do we stop? it's been producing results. But here's the thing at the moment: if we can't measure it, we can't manage it. So It's actually good to start. If you've got someone, an admin person that was measuring that stuff for you, that was part-time, perhaps it will make sense, because it's when two people are doing things, a problem half is problem shared, or problem shared is problem half. And so that way someone takes some ownership on that and just get some rhythm in it. So it doesn't have to be that daunting.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess that a couple of the, including your response to that question, a couple of the takeaways, or the biggest takeaway I got, was really, as a business owner, we need to make sure we put aside the time to step back and look at the business as a whole, as opposed to, and I'm definitely guilty of this, getting caught up in the day-to-day. And focusing on, oh, I've got to get this done for a client, or I've got to get that done, or, I'm supposed to be doing my own marketing, so I'll just throw this together and push it out there. That's a pretty common thing for a lot of businesses, I think. So having that step back and really looking at it and making sure you have the time to plan out what needs to be done.
Thank you. I think if I can just add one more thing to that. Yesterday, I was sitting with a client and their business development manager, which was initially the admin person, and so they've shifted roles. So she's ex-McDonald's systems person. So she's our go. We just love her ability to implement well. So here's the thing at the moment, for this quarter, what we're planning at the end of the day is scheduling in, right, a half day in the week. It's all falling off the track. So now we got to get back into it. It's okay, let's schedule that in, because if we don't, anybody can just look at their diary right now and they go, oh my goodness, yep, it's everyone else's time besides what the business needs. And so I get that is actually something quite real. So I'll just say, show me your diary. And all of a sudden it will tell a story, and it will tell a story, it will tell a story. And so if you think about those different hats or those different departments, you can actually start scheduling that into one's diary from that point of view, because there's lots of business owners that enjoy doing the operations. I've got clients that's on diggers and things like that, but it doesn't mean the other things are not being done.
Sure.
And that's where the difference lies.
Cool. Yeah. So we've got another question here. How about find what your clients' bugbears are and give them answers that work that your work addresses. This will make them valuable to them. Sorry, I'm reading it out loud the first time I'm reading it. Okay, so I guess what that's more of a comment than a question, actually, in terms of finding what the bugbears are for clients, and then fixing them.
It's look. That's the reason why stability and putting controls are in place, because there'll be a constant complaint, and so we just want to deal with that. It will either be a people or process. Can I trust John to do what he's going to do? The biggest thing for business owners is, why did I have to repeat myself 20 times over the last 15 years? The same thing. And so when I hear those kind of things, because as you know, being a trained coach since 2003, I'm listening for what those things are. They call blind spots. And so the opportunity at the end of the day is, okay, great. If we can release you out of that, what does it give you the freedom for? Because if it's a habit that's happened, so it's not complicated to figure out. It's probably going, yes, I agree, that is an area that we need to tidy up in this quarter. And once we clean that up, we create a space for something far greater. So yeah, it's a big part of listening as this role. Yeah.
Awesome.
And your teams.
So I guess that the main question that I had, and I was thinking of while you were going through that, was, again, pulling from my own personal experience, but also dealing with clients myself. We're often quite time poor as business owners. I mean, we have to make a living, so we are out there. We're doing the sales aspect of our own business, so to speak, and having conversations with other people and doing the work as well. If let's say we make the time, we do the key objectives framework, and we work out, okay, we're sitting down there. What would you say would be the first thing that we really need to focus on? I know that's a very generic thing, and lots of businesses are different. But what would you say from your own experience is the main game changer element out of all those functions that you've got there?
Oh my goodness. The one thing I can say, if there's a thread that flows all the way through, is a phenomenal office manager, someone I found amazing amount of skills, like can train people, can implement systems, and just that next set of ears, someone that you can talk to. I found even for 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week, one organization that I was talking to you about, Sean from Frontline Group, which was Frontline, that was a part-time bookkeeper. She is now not only she's the financial controller, she actually got rid of a whole bunch of other clients because she just loved the process and engagement from that, was seeing a business owner wanting to succeed and go forward and have a plan. And so, like 3.5 days a week right now versus 3 hours. So, and because there's an enjoyment over there. So for me, the key role at the moment is that admin function, those things that you just go, can I be bothered? I need to be out making the sale. Because owners that rock, they are great at making alliances and sales, and they're great at keeping a handle on operations to make sure they're on a tight ship. You get those two functions right, everything else can be leveraged. And so they constantly, because you can rely on them making that sale. And number two is making sure that things are getting done right. And so everything else can be leveraged. And so the point behind that is, find a rock star. I call them a rock star. That you heard me say, I just love the admin space. Everybody that's got the discipline and enjoyment for that, I just go to them, I hug them, and I say, hey, listen, thank you, your gift. Because they buy back freedom, they buy back the sanity, they buy back, because you'll even, like a lot of business owners, even the low value pricing of jobs or sending out proposals or something, that's an admin function. Like within a sales process, there's an admin function. And so there's always an admin function. And when we take that away, you can focus on that 20% of that stuff. It's going to rock the business forward. So admin, massive fan.
All right. So I guess that leads on to another question, which how do you identify an admin rock star, or when you're speaking to your clients who already have one or need to find one, is there one or two key points that you would say, okay, this needs to be in the job description or the advert, or is there a personality trait that you say that you should look for?
Yep. Well, it's a bunch of things. Whenever we start with any business, you've got to get clear on the role. What are those key responsibilities? And once you get clear on that, you'll know whether or not they're IT savvy. You can get clear on the skills and those attributes, but it's mostly identifying the roles, the areas from that point of view. And the hard thing for most people is narrowing that down to a need. So business needs a lot of automation. You'll be surprised people that can automate and that's come out of corporates. I find when you have someone that's come out of a corporate, they had the disciplines in the environment, they bring that into a small business. So I'm looking through those because I do sit alongside business owners doing those interviews. I look through, I don't know, I can't explain to you how many CVs I've looked through, and I'll go ABCs and we will just put a framework around it. And I'll say, well, here's the top 3. And, if we haven't gone through that process before. So yes, there's a recruitment and selection process. And on the other side is we can put an ideal criteria for that business's need. Because once you understand where the business is going and the need is, it's not complicated to put it into that frame. Like I said, I've got lots of different frameworks that I operate out of, and I provide the right tool to support the business owner through that process. And in 18 years of doing this, I promise you, there's been 2 people that slipped through the cracks. 2 people that slipped through the cracks that I go, my goodness, but no one's perfect. So, hey, you have to be doing something right.
No, fair enough. That's really good, actually.
Love
awesome. It. So it looks like that's all the questions that we've had come through. So we'll look at wrapping this up. We've kind of got only a few minutes left anyway, so that's good timing. Just to kind of reiterate for everyone, we've got the Calendly link, which is calendly.com/Jerome-Jacobs. So you can book a time to have a chat one-on-one, and then Jerome's email in there as well, which is jeromej@riseadvisory.co.nz. Are there any other methods that you'd like people to be able to get in touch with you?
You're more than welcome to pop my phone number there if you want to just give a call and have a chat. I'm totally up for that.
I don't have it up at the moment. So what's your phone number?
021
Yeah.
769-016. Feel free to call. I'm an open book. I'm a bit of an oversharer, I think.
Awesome. No, thank you. No, there was a really good presentation, and I mean, I definitely took a lot from it, and I'd seen it beforehand, so it was good to have you go through it and explain it piece by piece as well. So for everyone who wants to refer back to this presentation, this has been recorded and we will put it up onto the Silverdale Business YouTube channel. So you'll be able to access it there, and we'll send out links once that's up as well, and you'll be able to find it on the Silverdale Business Facebook page as well.
Awesome.
The next one will be in August, and that is going to be on IT security. So specifically around, with the whole DHB hack a couple of months ago and everything along those lines, it's a pretty big issue at the moment, and I know a lot of businesses are kind of having a little bit of a threat. And in fact, one of my own clients has kind of lost touch because they had to restructure their whole system because it had the same security flaw as DHB. So that's obviously not good for them. But the chat next month will be all about IT security and what you can do either as a larger business or as a small business working from home, and making sure that you keep yourself safe, or if anything does happen, that you've got backups and able to, not have to pay someone a whole lot of money just to get your files back. So that's that. Again, I would like to thank Jerome for his time for this presentation. Thank everyone for coming as well.
Thank you.
And also, again, Silverdale Business Farm Para, and Destination Oreo Beach for enabling this to be put on. And now we have another question. Oh, no, just a thanks. No worries. Thank you. And we'll catch you later.
Enjoy your evening, folks. All the best. Thank you.